Hi, welcome back to Mind Control.
I mean, the technology is great. You know, it's lots of fun, very helpful, makes a lot of things easy. But like anything in the world, there is too much of a good thing, you know? And I think one of the things we don't talk about is what is the balance of technology in our lives. And I would argue that for many of us, it's out of balance. We know that the chemical dopamine is released whenever we get a bing, buzz, flash, or beep from our phone or email, right? So dopamine is the exact same chemical that's released in alcohol, nicotine, and gambling, right? In other words, it can be addictive if left unbalanced. A little alcohol is great. Too much alcohol, not so great. Gambling is fun. Too much gambling, really bad, right? Technology is wonderful. Too much technology can be very destructive and destroy our relationships, like all addictions destroy our relationships, right? And so one thing we're not considering is what is the right balance. If you wake up in the morning and you check your phone before you say good morning to your spouse, that's a problem, right? If you have phantom beeps, that's a problem. That comes from something, right? If you find yourself incapable of getting through a day without needing to check, that's a problem, right? Now, where it gets really dangerous is with kids, millennials. Some of them aren't kids anymore.
Right.
So almost all alcoholics on the planet discovered alcohol when they were children. When we're very, very young, the only thing we need is the approval of our parents. Right? When we go through adolescence, we now need approval from our peers. Frustrating for our parents, very important for us because it allows us to acculturate outside of our immediate families into the larger group, right? Very stressful time, and we're supposed to learn in this time of anxiety to rely on our friends, to reach out to our friends for help. That's what we're supposed to learn. Some people, quite by accident, discover alcohol, and then they learn the numbing effects of dopamine actually help them get through the stress of adolescence. This connection, unfortunately, becomes hardwired. And so for the rest of their lives, when they face any kind of financial, career, or social stress, they don't turn to a person, they turn to the bottle, right? Now, we have age restrictions on alcohol, cigarettes, and gambling, because we know that an immature mind is not yet strong enough or mature enough to deal with the powers of these addicting chemicals, these addictive chemicals, right? So we put an age limit. We have no such age limit or age restriction on social media or cell phones, right? So ostensibly what we've done is we've thrown open the liquor cabinet and we've said to our adolescents, hey, I know this whole adolescent thing is really stressful, so here's the vodka, take as much as you need. That's basically what we've done. And so what we have is an entire generation that's growing up addicted. And like all addicts, they haven't learned the skill set of when they suffer stress to turn to a person. What they do is they turn to the device. And what that only does is increase senses of isolation and loneliness and can actually destroy relationships. We've all had the experience where you're with somebody walking down the street in a meeting, out for dinner, whatever, and they pull out their phone and you feel like an idiot, right? Or when you're talking to them and they're going, and you're sort of like, what's the point of this? Now take an entire generation that has no memory of a time before the device. We at least can reference times before cell phones and internet and social media. We at least have a point of reference. They don't. So this is their normal, but that's how they feel. So you have an entire generation growing up with addiction and an increased sense of loneliness and isolation. We're already seeing the results. We're seeing increased rates of suicide amongst this generation. We're seeing increased rates of accidental deaths due to overdoses amongst this generation. We're seeing increased numbers of mass homicides, largely performed by this generation. School shootings, over 70% perpetrated by kids born after the year 1984. Schools, universities are now dealing with numbers they've never dealt with before of kids requesting leaves of absence due to depression. We're already seeing it, right? We're seeing the effects of loneliness and isolation. We're seeing it, and yet we're not reacting to it. We're not doing anything about it, right? And parents are a lot to blame for this. Because parents, there are some schools who want to restrict phones in schools, and it's the parents who demand that they keep their phones in case of emergencies. Seriously? Seriously? When was the last time the cell phone was used for an emergency? What time are you coming home? What time should we pick you up? And if there is an emergency, you call the office and they know what classroom the kid's in, and in 5 minutes, they'll bring the kid to talk to you on the phone. Like, the old way worked just fine. Remember, we talked before about innovation. It has to solve a real human problem. What human problem exactly did we solve by compressing the 5-minute time frame? We added to the problem. We didn't solve it. So that's one huge problem. So combine that with the fact, so you have an addicted generation that doesn't have the skill set to ask for help. Combined with the fact that they're so good at Facebook and Instagram, they're good at putting filters on everything. So they're good at showing you how smart and strong they are. These kids who commit suicide, you go look at their Instagrams, you would have no clue that they were depressed because they're happy and they're star athletes, right? You'd have no clue because they're really good. So when we say silly things like, my door is always open, you're assuming they have the courage to come in. Combined with the fact that they're subject largely, not all, but too many, to a failed parenting strategy. Because their parents told them they were special, they could have anything they wanted, they could be anything they want. They got medals for coming in last, which by the way we know doesn't work. It devalues the medal for the one who comes in first, and the one who came in last, it makes them feel stupid because they know they didn't deserve it, right? The kids got into honors classes not because they deserved it, but because the parents complained. And some of them got good grades not because they earned them, but because the teachers didn't want to deal with the parents. And then the kids graduate college, and they get a job, and in an instant, they find out they're not special. They don't get anything for coming in last. Their parents can't get them a promotion, and you can't have whatever you want just because you want it. And in an instant, their entire self-image is shattered. And so you have an entire generation growing up with lower self-confidence than previous generations. So you have lower self-confidence than previous generations, combined with an inability to ask for help with things that you're struggling with, and you turn to social media or a device, you keep checking, you count your likes, you count your followers, and if somebody unfriends you, oh my God, it's trauma, right? The way they break up with each other is they just ghost each other, just cut each other out and stop returning texts and returning phone calls, because they don't have the skill set to say, hey, it's not working out, it's not me, it's you, right? There's no closure on things, right? Combined with the fact there's an institutionalized impatience. So they've grown up in a world of instant gratification. You want to buy something, you go on Amazon, it shows up the next day. You want to get in touch with someone, you don't leave a message on their machine and wait 4 hours for them to get the message, you just text them and they get back to you immediately. You want to watch a movie, you just log on and watch it. You don't have to check movie times, right? Everything happens instantly. You want to get a date, swipe right. You don't even have to muster up the courage to go up like, hey, you don't have to. There you go, got a date, right? And so the problem is, they're accused of being entitled. I don't think they're entitled at all. Not at all. I think they're impatient. I keep meeting these fantastic, smart, driven, ambitious, idealistic, fantastic kids who graduated school, they got a job, they want to make an impact in the world, and I go up to them and say, how's it going? And they say, I think I'm going to quit. I'm like, why? They're like, I'm not making an impact. I'm like, you've been here 8 months. And it's as if they see the summit of a mountain. It's as if they're standing at the foot of a mountain and they can see the summit. They can see the thing they want. I want to make an impact. What they don't see is the mountain. This large, immovable object. You can go up fast, you can go up slow, I don't care. But there's still a mountain. What they don't understand is that life, that relationships, and career fulfillment are a journey. There's no app for that. I got nothing. You gotta go through the slow, plodding, annoying, meandering process called career and life.
Thank you so much for watching till the end. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments section. Please also like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends and families. Please watch our other motivational videos. Thank you again.
What is the secret of charming people? They have removed all negative slides from their heads and have focused only on the positive. Charm is love between the mind and the soul. Charming people are happy, who love themselves but are not big-headed. They enjoy life, and other people sense exactly this love that shines from them. Those people are rare, but you can be one of them if you start to love yourself, to listen to your soul, and take action in the physical world towards your goal. In the process, your face and body both will become more attractive as you will raise your vibration and start knowing yourself. The secret of attractive people is the union of mind and soul. Those people do what they love life and themselves, and because they live according to their creed, love shines through them. Others detect that and immediately are attracted to such people. If you do not love yourself, no one ever will love you. Furthermore, you will never be happy. Every conflict between mind and soul shows negatively on your physical appearance and on your character. As a consequence, you move to a worse and worse lifeline. Before searching qualities in others, improve your own self. Feel how the pendulums force you to reject your uniqueness and compare yourself to others. You will inevitably fail. You are your own self, and so accept yourself with your flaws. Then you take your right to be a creator in life. The more you get trapped by pendulums, the more you will hate yourself and worship others, and lowering your own importance to raise the importance of someone else. External importance occurs when I believe that the standards which specified by someone else is the peak of perfection. But internal importance occurs just when I stop following others' standards, just loving and accepting myself, and stop worshiping others. If you were rejected or suffer from unrequited love, or you are looking for more love, you need to start loving yourself first. If you can't love yourself just yet, just do something to improve yourself. Join a fitness club, or take a course in something you like the most. It doesn't matter what. Try to change your look. Buy some new clothes. When you take care of yourself, you actually change your focus from looking for love from an outside source. Instead, you start looking love from within. You should know that loving yourself is the most dignified goal, and it will attract more love and more abundance to you. Usually, people love themselves only after others start loving them. But the universe is a mirror. How can the reflection emit love if the image doesn't contain it? When you take care of yourself, actually, you raise your vibrations, which sends you to a better lifeline. Love is like a boomerang. When you send it to the world, it will come back to you in various ways. So, start vibrating love. It's not as hard as you think. Just do things you love, think thoughts of love, and loving yourself. The first relationship to improve is the one you have with yourself. When you are happy with yourself, then all your other relationships improve too. If you are looking for more love, then you need to love yourself more. This means no criticism, no complaining, no blaming, and no choosing to feel lonely. It means being very content with yourself in the present moment and choosing to think thoughts that make you feel now. Life always mirrors back to us the feeling we have inside. As you grow in an inner sense of love and romance, the right person to share your growing sense of intimacy will be attracted to you like a magnet. When you truly love yourself, you stay centered, calm, and secure, and your relationship at home as well as at work are wonderful. You will find yourself reacting to various situations and people differently. Matters that once may have been desperately important won't be quite as important anymore. New people will enter your life, and perhaps some old ones will disappear, which can be scary at first, and also wonderful and exciting. You need to love yourself as much as you love others. You are someone who brings you to this stage of life, someone you should treat with kindness and compassion. You need to stop blaming yourself because something didn't happen as planned. Stop looking at the mirror and blaming yourself because you feel not good enough. And please stop comparing yourself to someone you see through social media. The only person who has the right to be compared to who you are today is what you were in the past.
You need to move on. If you want to continue with your life and just focus on building a future to be proud of, you can't have these issues holding you back. You want to move on, don't you? You don't want to carry on feeling this guilt or shame. You need to do everything in your power to put this behind you and to reach your true you with nothing holding you back. Think of a person that is totally at peace with themselves. They have finally got to the top of their game. They're living a fulfilled life and are confident and so comfortable in their skin. Do you think they ever made mistakes before? Of course they did. But do you think they gripped that mistake and took it forward with them? No. They let it go and used it to better themselves and move on. Lastly, it's love that reveals your true strengths before you and the world. So love yourself first. Loving yourself tells you how magnificent you are. It makes you realize that you're the only one who can support you the most in your time of need. You're the one who is the best well-wisher of yourself than anyone. You're the only one who is the best healer of yourself than any other healers. So let yourself wallow for a little. Feel your emotions for a while. But at the end of the day, shake it off and keep moving. Use the strength you know you have deep down to push yourself into an amazing future.
It's going to say that it's your fault. And no matter how many times people on the outside tell you that that is not true, that this thing happened to you, that it isn't you, it doesn't define you, there will be a voice that's going to tell you that it does.
His mother said, "We just must not realize how bad it is." Well, the reality is, he just made a decision. He decided that he was going to manage his state. Why?
To sorry. You cannot keep depending on sorry. Better. Better. Much better.
And that's where you have to fall back on process. That's where you have to realize that you literally have to practice loving yourself and that it's okay, that no matter what happened, there is absolutely nothing that invalidates that you're worthy of your own love. But you've got to practice it. You've got to be willing to do it. You've got to be willing to put in the reps. You've got to know that it's not going to feel right, but you've got to know on the other side of that is a vision of your life where you actually do love yourself. Because you took the time to say it. You took the time to practice it. You took the time to sit there and feel stupid and say that you love yourself. And sometimes just putting in the work.
Because he saw the alternative as much more painful. He said, look, I got one of two choices. I can feel bad emotionally about everything I've lost and just make my total life a mess emotionally and have more pain to add to my physical pain, or I can focus on what I'm going to do, which means I can at least focus on
is what you need to do to get strong. So put in the work.
I want you to burn into your nervous system the following statement, because it is a fundamental truth of the human condition. It is literally the baseline physics of what it means to be a person.
As Earl Nightingale said, we become what we think about. And that's an idea that I want you to hold firmly in your mind. That's something that I really want you to internalize. I really want you to stop right now. Whatever you're doing, I want you to stop, lean into this video and listen to what I'm saying. You will become what you think about. Really think about that for a second, as if it wasn't just a phrase, as if it's more than just words, as if it were a truth about how the brain works, because it is. You're going to become the thing that you think about. And I know that you're dwelling on a lot of negative shit. I know that you're carrying a lot of baggage with you. And I know that as you think about how things might go wrong, that you believe.
About 8 years later, he's flying his airplane with 3 other friends in Colorado, and he made himself a rather big mistake. He didn't go through his checklist, and he didn't notice that there was frost that had developed on the wing. And when he took off, he crashed. 3 people walked away. He was not one of them. he was paralyzed from the waist down for life. So they cut off his toes since he didn't need them anymore and sewed them on his hands so he'd have something to be able to grasp things with. He's stuck in a wheelchair now for life. Of course, he doesn't look at as stuck in a wheelchair. In fact, you say at this point he must have given up, right? No. Even after his wife left him, he said, look, I don't want to be around a fried cripple. Even after all that, he still didn't give up. He turned around, and the city he was living in Colorado had some major problems. He decided to become the mayor of that town. After that, he decided to run for lieutenant governor of the state of Colorado. He placed third in a group of 6, and he ran on the issues, not on a sympathy vote.
Onward and upward. Doing all the things that will make you better depends on how you think, how you feel, what you do, how you proceed. But let sorry go. We don't need that. You don't need that. Don't be the sorriest person. Be the better person. Lift yourself up. Stop with the excuses. Stop doing things that you know that is not right. Because you can't be rewarded for that.
And he campaigned door to door. Now remember, this guy didn't look too terribly good. In fact, he used to wear a button that said, "Send me to the governor's mansion, and I won't just be another pretty face." Kind of a nice way to interrupt people's patterns and make them associate something new to you. Now, he didn't win the lieutenant governor's place. He still didn't give up. He now has his own radio show in Colorado, and he has found the woman of his dreams and remarried. So I've got to tell you that if you start to tell me, well, gosh, Tony, I got all these problems. It's hard to manage my state. Just think about W. Mitchell. When I look at somebody like Belushi and see all that he had, and I look at somebody like Mitchell, who seems to have all these challenges but is so happy, so successful, such a sense of possibility, it becomes clear to me that I have no excuse to ever not manage my state on a consistent basis. No matter how big the problems may seem, you're much better than anybody like that might ever hope to be. So how do we manage our states? Well, one, remember, I believe virtually everything in life comes down to why to first, then how to.
There is no rewards in sorry. There is no rewards in pity. It's time to move on. It's time to be better. It's time to do what's right. Make it right within you. Be strong every day of your life. Be productive every moment of your life. And from the bottom of my heart, do better. Be better and conduct your business.
It's cruel and unusual punishment. And I was a little boy knocking on the door. Hello, would you like to buy a nice working television set? No money down? No! Bam! They slammed the door in your face. And a friend of mine that was working with me, they slammed the door in his face, and I looked back and he was going to the car. He said, I can't do this. And he sat down in the car and he said, you go ahead, I'll be here when you get back. Now he had a mother and father to take care of him. My mother was ill. I am adopted. I was hungry. I had to go on. I learned something about myself. That when you step into your fears, somebody said, it was Winston Churchill, he said that courage is going from failure to failure without losing enthusiasm. When you step into your fears and continue to push yourself to go on, something happens for you. It will enable you to transcend yourself. I went to the next door. You like to buy a nice working television? No! Bam! Went to the next one. No! Bam! After a while, I no longer took it personal. And I began to play a game. I said, well, I know there's a yes out here somewhere, and I'm going to keep on till I find it.
You're learning. And when you're learning, you are growing. You are growing to be something unique. You are growing to serve a purpose. Do not let failure confuse your opportunities. Let failure serve its purpose. Nothing happens overnight. It is a process. And the time will come where you will reflect on the many failures that you have embarked on. And for that, you will become greater than you was yesterday. So keep up the good fight. Keep pushing forward. And learn from the failures. And move forward with a purpose. For purpose is within you. And only failure is there to teach you.
and I'm not going home until I do. And I continue to knock on doors. And then somebody eventually would say yes. And I said, are you sure? And I would go in there and I would get the sale. When you have something you want to do, if you don't develop the courage to do that which has been given you to do, and you spend a lot of time going around trying to convince other people or trying to get their approval, what will happen is that you will lose your nerve. And other people will convince you that what you're doing doesn't have any value, and you'll give up on your dream. It's an interesting thing about life, I've also found, that if you don't have the courage to act, sometimes and particularly if you have something special to do, life will move on you. Abraham Maslow said that life is about growth. And he said, you can either go back to your comfort zone, and there you won't find any growth, or you must be willing to go forward and face your fears again and again and again.
If normal is getting on your nerves, then you got to change something. Being mediocre was driving me crazy. Poverty, I was sick of it.
So learn from your personal experience. Second, other people's experiences. That's me, other people. That's your teacher.
And what that junk DNA really is epigenetics. Now, it's just a fancy word for we respond to our environment, and more aptly, we respond to stress in our environment.
You can protect yourself from negativity. And that's what stops most people, negative thoughts. You can coat your mind from negativity. It's a real simple exercise to do. I do it every morning before I walk out the door. So I walk out as a positive person. You know, I get tired sometimes. That's different from being negative, because I get mentally drained from my job at times. But to coat your mind from negativity, the way you can put a coating around your mind is with one simple thing: gratitude. Gratitude erases negativity. I'm gonna show you how this works. If you wake up in the morning and you start having negative thoughts, man, this ain't my day. I woke up on the wrong side of the bed. I'm tripping, I just don't feel myself. Every time you feel, in the middle of the day, if you feel yourself doing that, stop, just stop for a second.
That's your friends, colleagues, the people you meet that can pass along to you their experiences, what's happened to them, the mistakes they made, how they corrected them, how they changed their health, and changed their bank account, and changed their income, and changed their future. Other people. Now, there are two kinds of people to learn from. One is failures. It's too bad failures don't give seminars, right? That would be valuable. Have them tell you how they lost it all and threw it all away, threw their health away, and threw their friendships away, and things didn't work out well. That would be valuable. But now then, we must also learn from positive people that have done well. They've got the health, and so we ask them, how did you become so healthy? They've got the skills, so we ask them, how did you become this skillful? They've got the income, so we ask them, how did you get here in such a short period of time?
And start going over in your mind everything you have to be grateful for. Not everything you want, everything you already have, because what you have is substantial. You just haven't gone over the list and taken inventory in a long time. But the fact that you can walk, that's a blessing. The fact that you woke up, that's another blessing. The fact that you can see, think, reason, that's another blessing. The fact that you can go somewhere and get yourself something to eat, that's another blessing. The fact that you can go and turn the key and call someplace home, that's another blessing. The ability to dream is a blessing. The fact that you have an opportunity to get it right is another blessing. The fact that you're beautiful, that's another blessing. The fact that you have any measure of health, that's another blessing. And I'm just talking to you, I don't even know you. I could give you 50 things you ought to be grateful for right now. I don't even know you.
So now here's what's important in personal development. In learning from other people, we learn, number one, by observation. We learn what we see. We watch people that are successful in what they do. In sports, we watch their disciplines. In business, we watch their disciplines. Second, we learn by what we hear. Learn by listening. And then listen to the sermon on Sunday morning. Listen to the lecture. Listen to the teacher. Listen to someone who's got something good to say. And then number 3 is vitally important on personal development, and that is read all the books you can possibly read in your lifetime. Mr. Shoaff got me started on my library. I've got one of the better libraries. And then I started keeping a journal. One of the major things my teacher taught me was to keep a journal. He said, don't trust your memory. If you hear something good, just make a little note and write it down. So I would suggest you do the same.
Anybody ever seen a professional bodybuilder? No? Okay. A professional bodybuilder hardly looks human to me. It's unbelievable what they're able to do, but they show in a very real and tangible way what you can do to the human body when you understand how to put it under stress. Now, if you've ever been to the gym, you know that the real money is in tearing the muscle down, not building it up. You actually build up the muscle while you're sleeping based on what you've eaten. So the act of bodybuilding, of actually going into the gym, is an act of tearing down so that you can create the stress so that your body can respond. Now, if you remember nothing else from my talk, remember this: humans are the ultimate adaptation machine.
When you get a thought that's not your thought, stop letting that thought just take control. It doesn't belong there. Anything that's not in alignment with your dreams and your goals, let it go. And so you're going to stop in the middle of the day with your phone, and you're going to put your earphones on, and you're going to listen to whatever you listen to, and you're going to take 5 minutes, 10 minutes, however long it takes, and you're going to get out of that funk. Okay, how many of y'all, you get into a funk sometime? Let me see your hand, be honest. How many of you get into a funk for more than like you let it just take the whole day? Just be honest. Stop. We're going to do a 5-minute funk. I'm just being real. That's it. That's our rule for the new year. 5-minute funk. That's it. And after that 5 minutes, it's over. And during the 5 minutes, we're going to stop it. So we might stop it at 2, we might stop it at 3, but by 5, it's stopped. What would your life look like if you only listen to your voice and you use your inner energy to help you to become successful? What would it look like?
Just by being human, each and every one of you is capable of great change. Who you are today does not predict who you can become. Who you can become is the answer to a very simple question. What do you want? And what price are you willing to pay to get there? What do you want? And what price are you willing to pay to get there? Kobe Bryant, one of the greatest athletes of our time, would show up on game day, and if he saw anybody else at the gym as early as him, even though he was always the first on the court, he would end up practicing longer than that person. And I had the honor of interviewing one of those people one time, and he said, I went up and asked Kobe, we have a game in an hour. Like, what are you doing out here practicing so long? And Kobe said, I needed you to know that I was willing to outwork you.
Now, let me ask you this. How many of you have listened to other people's voice? You listen to it. Let me see your hand. You literally listen to other people's voice. Hands down. How's that worked out? I'm just being real. Here's what's crazy. It don't even work and you still doing it. Like, it doesn't even work. Like, it don't even help you, but you still doing it. You know why? Because you're more concerned about how they feel about you than how you love yourself. And you got a love problem, you need to fix it. You don't love yourself, and you need to fix that. Why? Because you're concerned about what they think. They're not even you. And so we're gonna fix our thinking. We're going to channel our energy, and this is gonna be the best year of our life. Does that make sense? All right, today is all about you. This is all about you. All right, I'm gonna watch some tape later, and I'm gonna get some of this stuff for myself. So I love when CJ come up and Josh come up, because I get to learn. And we got a powerful second day for you. I love y'all so much that I think it was 2018. I heard, okay, so do me a favor. Stop being deep and take everything you learn and use it.
And in that game, they ended up winning. And that lesson stuck with that guy forever. When you're willing to put in the work, when you're willing to take control of your environment and put yourself through the stressors required for adaptation, you literally can become anything. And my life is proof of that. So I stand here as one of the founders of a company called Quest Nutrition that we took from not existing to being valued over $1 billion 5 years later. Thank you. That was the guy whose mother, not too long before that, just quietly assumed he was going to fail at college. But what I began to understand is that I could harness that ability to adapt.
Charisma is derived from a Greek word meaning an ability to elicit favor in other people. It's a magnetic quality of personality that people respond to as if it were magic.
Now, when you get good at that, you can reduce the amount of time that you stay there to next to nothing. But it starts with recognizing that there is an impermanence to pain, and it's critical to focus on that.
It's better to be prepared for an opportunity and not have one than to have an opportunity and not be prepared.
How are you going to separate yourself from everybody else? You keep going, and then after that, you keep going. It's not always making the last shot. He's under pressure doing what you're supposed to do. And coming out successful, Kobe and Jordan were my heroes. Every single match, I didn't care who I was playing. They're in trouble before they even lace it up. They always see us doing the easy part. Hold the trophy and kiss it. And that's what everybody sees. They don't see the day where you do not feel like going to the gym at all.
Charisma is almost like a magic wand that confers power over others. But character has a very different origin. Character comes from a Greek word meaning chisel, or the mark left by a chisel. And of course, a chisel is a sharp steel tool used for making a sculpture out of a hard or difficult material like granite or marble. And a chisel is also used for stripping away waste material from an object, stripping away stuff that might get in the way in order to get down to the essential thing, the thing that really matters. You've got to chisel your character out of the raw material of yourself, just like a sculptor.
And then the last thing I remind myself is, I can always get better. I will learn from this and move on. Sometimes I worry if I self-soothe, I might overstep and become too complacent with my mistakes and don't actually learn from them, for numbing that pain or discomfort that could lead me to grow. How do you self-soothe without comforting yourself to the point of losing your drive? What a brilliant question. This is so smart. All right, this is what I call the advanced class. We are now in the advanced class. This is some nuanced shit. You've got to be able to hold two competing ideas in your head. All right, so critical life lesson number one was realizing this too shall pass, and that there is joy in that impermanence.
Has to create a statue. The raw material is always there. Everything that happens to you, good or bad, is an opportunity for building your character. Let me point out another important distinction between character and charisma. You may have noticed it already. In both its definition and its derivation, character doesn't refer to other people. It doesn't refer to having power over other people or getting other people to follow you or gaining favor with other people. Character is something that you have and that you are. You could be marooned on a desert island and your character would still be important. In fact, it would likely be very important in that situation. But charisma wouldn't do you any good at all. Charisma requires the presence of others, while character is all about you.
Then critical lesson number two is that I'm holding two competing ideas in my head, and that is critically important. Important idea number one. It's good to feel the pain. I need that, because that's going to give me the motivation that I need, as you so aptly point out, to actually do something about it. Okay? Part of the reason that mistakes, failure, is the most information-rich data stream you will ever encounter is because when you fail, you feel pain, and pain triggers areas of the brain around memory and focus. So now I'm really looking at this thing, and I'm committing it to memory. Now, as long as I'm not pointing all my fingers at other people, all these people, the world, society, whatever, culture, is victimizing me. Okay, if I don't do that, and instead, two thumbs pointed right back at this guy, then I'm reminded, oh yeah, I'm in control.
You see, when you're not pursuing your goal, you are literally committing spiritual suicide. When you have some goal out here that you're stretching for and reaching for that takes you out of your comfort zone, you'll find out some talents and abilities you have that you didn't know you have. I started speaking just to elementary school kids because I knew they didn't know what I was talking about. And they gave me all kind of standing ovation. We like you, yeah. Then I graduated up to junior high school and then to senior high school and then to various community groups and church groups and civic associations and then to colleges and to businesses. Now I'm traveling across the country and then traveling nationally and internationally.
I do not. Nobody can talk me into it even. Yourself, you're telling yourself, no, I'm too tired. I'm achy, there's no way I can make it. You gotta go, you know you have to stick to what you said you were gonna do. You're gonna get knocked down over and over and over, and even when you feel like, no, I can't be hit this hard, or if you're down to thinking it's, no way I can get up from this. That's when you're just starting, keep going, and then after that you keep going.
Be addicted to bettering yourself. When you think about some of the great athletes and in so many sports, and I think the perfect examples, I think for me, it's because I love basketball. You think about a lot of these kids, they go from high school to the pros. And obviously that's not the case now. You have to go 1 year, but just think about the kids that go from high school to the pros. You think about your Kevin Garnett, you think about your Kobe Bryant, your LeBron James, Michael Jordan. He's one of the greatest. He didn't go from high school to the pros, but he's considered, obviously the greatest of all time. But when you think about what Michael Jordan did as setting the blueprint, especially for a guy like Kobe, who was at that point when he was alive, he was a living carbon copy of one of the greatest basketball players of all time.
It's about what we do. It's about how we handle the situation. It's not about what happens to us, because things are going to happen. How are you going to separate yourself from everybody else? And I always thought anytime it got really incredibly hard, I would think about all the people quitting right now and how they're going to feel in a few years, that they're just going to say, man, what if I hadn't have given up? What if I would have kept going? Don't say what if, please, 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 please. Don't have the what ifs down the road.
But I never would have discovered what I'm able to do right now if I wasn't willing to take a chance. You've got to be willing to do that. You've got to believe in yourself. A lot of people love me to tell this story. When I got out of school, my first major goal was to buy my mother a home, and my hero in broadcasting was Paul Harvey, and I wanted to become involved in broadcasting, and I loved the disc jockeys that were on the air, and I wanted to become a disc jockey. See, so I started working to develop my communication skills and expand my vocabulary. I started visualizing myself being a disc jockey. I saw myself on the air having a talk show and playing records and people listening to me. That was my vision. That was my dream. I held that in mind constantly, and I would practice all the time. Practice makes what? Absolutely not. Just dislodge that from your mind. Practice only makes improvement. Perfection doesn't exist. They need to take it out of the dictionary. It doesn't exist. Practice only makes improvement. You can always better your best. You have not done your best work yet.
You think about what LeBron has done. He lived up to the expectations, lived up to the potential in which a lot of scouts and owners and GMs pegged him as. And so that's why you look at Steph Curry. That's why you see these guys, they enhance upon their abilities and their potential. When you look at scouts and how they grade or evaluate talent, sometimes these scouts are way off base. If you go back and look at some of the scouting reports of a guy like Steph Curry, who's a small frame, another guy, Kevin Durant, they said these guys were not going to make it in the league. It was going to be tough. But these are some of the guys that are, they're lighting it up every night, making it to beyond the expectations of, the playoffs, getting to the finals. Look at what Kevin Durant has done, even after the Achilles injury. Not to mention, one of the greatest, basketball players, in LeBron James. Look at what Michael Jordan did.
You keep going now, and I'm telling you, you'll be in a better place than you would be if you quit. If you want to be great, man, prepare to get up off that mat, the aspirations, the dreams of what it takes, the commitment to hard work, but more importantly, how many lumps you've got to take. That's when your survival skills have to kick in, and hopefully you've trained enough in your mental preparation and really believe enough in yourself to get up, because everybody